Hey everybody, it's Comic Crack back with a video. So, a few things I'm going to talk about I think today in this little chestnut. As you can see, there's a stack of comics over here. Um, a good chunk of these piles have been kind of read, and I'm starting to read a bunch of different series as I go. It's all stuff that I've picked up over the past kind of month or two. I've been really trying to dive in as much as I can. And it seems to be, I'm almost reading them like I do my weekly comics. I read a couple issues, jump to another series, read a couple issues, jump to another series, read an issue, jump back to the first series, read an issue, and kind of jumping all over the place, which is nice. And I gotta say, there's some real gems in these piles. A couple that really took me by surprise. Yeah. So, but before we do that, there's this tag video going around that has kind of your top comic picks of things that you're looking for this year. So I just wanted to kind of contribute to that. I've been thinking about it recently, and as with all of us, there's always comics on that list. For the most part, I've tried to keep it down to, an issue or something, but most of them are kind of continuing series and things like that. So let's take a look at the old list here. So the first one shouldn't really be any sort of surprise to anybody. Daredevil. I'm always on the lookout for any issues that I don't have, but these six specifically, I would like to find, because then that would give me a complete run from issue 140 all the way to 300. And those seem, obviously there's ones like 168 in there, first Elektra, that sort of thing, but I've had pretty good luck in finding a lot of kind of more key issues of Daredevil, like Elektra's death, for example. Didn't actually cost me a hell of a lot of money. It was relatively cheap. I hate to keep rubbing that in, but it just seems to be the way that it is here in Winnipeg. Doctor Strange Volume 1, there's a few issues there from that first volume that I still need to complete it. I'd love to complete that this year. Flesh and Bones featuring Dalgota. Quite a while ago, I had a series I showed off from Fantagraphics, Dalgota. It was kind of like a maxi series, and then I think it got canceled, but it got picked up again for a 4-issue miniseries in this title, Flesh and Bones, and I'm only missing issue 3 of 4, and I haven't read this particular 4-issue miniseries. I'm holding off till I get the whole thing and read it in one sitting. The first series I did read, and I really liked it, actually. One of those kind of surprises when you hunt through some back issue bins. This Scarlet Traces, the Great Game, issue 4 of 4, again, just a mini series. I have the first 3. The art is what drew me to it originally when I started reading a bit of the story. I really liked it as well too. This was quite a while ago, actually. This is probably going on a couple years ago. I'd like to finally track that sucker down to complete that miniseries so I can read that. Treehouse of Horror. It's like a Simpsons title. This is particularly issue number 15. There was a question mark there because I had two notes. One that said it was issue 13, the other that said it was issue 15. But when I did some searching, it turns out it is issue 15. Specifically, it has John Vermillion and a guy that I really like from, I believe he's from the UK, Sweeney. Shit, now I'm blanking on his first name. Will Sweeney contributes to this, and I love Will Sweeney's stuff. I follow him on Instagram, and I saw today that he had a new, like an interview out in was it a Japanese magazine? I would love to get my hands on it. It has some great art of his in there. Fear Agent. Fear Agent. I have been collecting the single issues for, well, since they came out. I've been kind of on Fear Agent since I think issue number 2. And there's just a few issues that I'm missing to get the whole series. I had them all. I've read the whole thing already in trades, but I really want them all in singles. I've since given away the trades to somebody who hadn't read it, and he didn't even have a single issue. So I just, as a gift, I just gave him all of my books because it just seemed like the right thing to do. Miracle Man, the Eclipse series, I'd love to finish that off. I'm only a few issues shy of that whole series as well. One that I've been looking for forever, Shaolin Cowboy #1 from Burly Man. I've got everything else. I've even got a couple of the different covers. This one has just eluded me. And again, some stuff that's on this list isn't stuff like I've been hardcore looking for it every single time I go out. It's just kind of been today looking through lists and just trying to decide of which ones I'd like to check off the list, and these are some of them. Number 9 is kind of broad. I still to this day, and I know I've mentioned it before, I still to this day regret not picking up some underground comics from that guy at the convention whose one short box I saw just chock full of great shit, including Slow Death and Zap, which are written there. I really, really regret it. So going through my kind of lists today, I would love to complete some of those, especially that Slow Death series I really liked. Zap, of course, I would love to get, but those are just examples because I would just love to really dive in and keep filling up my underground comics boxes. And then finally, one that I've looked for a couple of years too, off and on, X, the Man with X-Ray Eyes from a Gold Key. It was just the one issue based on the movie. I'm a huge fan of the movie. That Roger Corman flick is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I just absolutely love it. I've seen it quite a few times. I own it on DVD. And when I found out that it was adapted to a comic, that's kind of when it hit my list a few years ago. Again, not something I've been hardcore looking for, but every once in a while, I even ask some people, some dealers at some of the conventions, and nobody seems to know about it, let alone have it in their collection to sell. So I would love to get my hands on that sucker this year. So there we go. There's the list. I will kind of reset here and we'll take a look at some of the books that I've read recently, and we'll just have a couple of words about them. Okay, so we're back, and let's start strong. One that really kind of snuck up on me and took me by surprise was Nemesis the Warlock from Pat Mills and Kevin O'Neill. So this is the Quality Comics issue. I have issue 1, 2, and 3, and these are, excuse me while I adjust the mic here. Sorry for that awful noise that it makes when you move it around. These are the black and white reprints of the series that originally appeared in 2000 AD. And I think they sort of say it the best in the back here. In the beginning, aliens invaded our sweet planet and caused much suffering. We who were the masters of our world were driven into submission by the unclean ones. Over time, those who could fight rose to become the Terminators and vanquished the alien scum, spilling the cold green fluid they call blood. Soon, Earth, the mighty Terra, was clean again, but for how long? If we could be invaded once, why not again? It was decided to take the quest for purity to the stars. To vanquish the alien, the deviant, the unknown became a higher calling, the ultimate religion. Humans scoured the galaxies in search of alien life forms in order to destroy them. Purity was all, death to the unclean, death to the alien. The deadliest and most feared of all these Terminators was Torquemada, and most powerful of all aliens was the warlock Nemesis. His knowledge of science and the occult, his sword sinister, and his cunning made Nemesis the bane of Torquemada's existence. Let's face it, these guys just don't like each other. Really, really surprised me how much I love this book. I mean, I guess the first thing we'll start with is, let me find, there was an image specifically. This image right here, I love, love, love the art. Kevin O'Neill is somebody who is high on my radar right now as far as a person I'd like to track down more of his work. The metallic look of this, if you've been following me for a while, you know my talk about Bald Eagles, the artist Bald Eagles. There's a really similar flavor in style, how he makes things look metallic in black and white, the faces, the imagery overall. It took a little bit to kind of get into because especially when you do finally see Nemesis. Let's find a good picture of him here. There's a good kind of full shot of him. But when you see his face and when you see some of the faces of these characters, especially the more alien ones who have helmets on and things, it's kind of hard to discern, especially in a close-up, to discern what it is that you're looking at. But once you get into it, the art is just incredible, and I love the black and white. So I've read 2 of the 3 issues. I actually finished issue 2 just tonight. And yeah, I mean, that description really says it all. So humans are wanting to cleanse the galaxy of aliens, and it's kind of like a Spanish Inquisition, and they just go out and kill anything that's alien. And Nemesis is the leader of the resistance, and he is even a little bit of, sorry to break in there, even a little bit of Basil Wolverton in some of the drawings as well too, which I just fucking love. He's the leader of the Nemesis is the leader of the resistance, so he's going to try to just destroy the humans, basically, or this particular group of them anyway, and free the aliens that they have captured, which he does in issue number 2. He goes to his uncle who was kind of banished because his uncle, in wanting to understand humans, the only way that he knew how to do that was to dissect them. So he would routinely kill and cut open humans to figure out what made us tick. So Nemesis banished him to a planet and to a house. So he's going to see him because his uncle is kind of a wizard of sorts, and he wants him to give him a spell to create like a time portal, sort of, or a rip in space or something, to be able to get into the compound to release these prisoners. Which eventually he does, and they have their big ceremony where people are hurling themselves into fire to show that they're true believers. And this organ is playing this kind of music that's supposed to just kind of heighten everybody's fanaticism and excitement. And it turns out Nemesis is the one that's playing at the organ and driving them kind of crazy, and they start turning on each other instead as his kind of little assistant. And there's kind of a Batman look to him in that one. While his little assistant here, who speaks gibberish, we're told, goes to free all the aliens that are imprisoned so they can run wild and start killing their captors. Just such a great book. There's some really nice humorous bits in it as well. I'm blanking on what he calls his sword. He has a name for his sword, but there's just some really nice bits, and there's some nice play on words with names. There's an invisible creature here whose name is N apostrophe Cognito, Kognito, so incognito. Really, really entertaining book. It's not laugh out loud funny, or at least I didn't find it that myself, but it has a nice injection of kind of absurdity and humor in it that really appeals to me, because I'm not really crazy of the Deadpool style of laugh out loud joking. Well, trying to make you laugh out loud anyway. It doesn't do that for me whatsoever. This has kind of a sinister feel to it. There's something about it, probably because of the art. So, and as I was reading it, you've seen me show this before as well. Eagle Comics did a 7-issue Necro series, and it threw me at first, which is why I thought it was a separate series. This one has its own short story, but then let me just flip through the pages here. It reproduces the stuff that I have reprinted in black and white from 2000 AD, but Kevin O'Neill adds color to everything too. And as beautiful as his coloring is, I have no issues with it whatsoever. It looks great, but let's go to that ship again here if I can find it. So easy to do this one-handed, isn't it? Of course I can't find it. Sorry, riveting YouTube television experience here. So there you go. There's that image. I'll open the other one in a second to do a comparison. I love, again, nothing against the colors. Those greens are out of control. They're so great. Really adds something to it. Helps define the images a little more, for sure. But I think I kind of prefer the black and white. It sort of loses some of that metallic nature, like this one does here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Let's see if we can do this shit right here. Sorry. There we go. So there's the two images there. Something about this really works for me, and also you can see even here, I mean, it's not like we're losing serious information at the bottom. Oh, hey, look at that. An extra panel at the top that we don't have in this one. I actually haven't done a side-by-side comparison yet. I just know from reading it that I preferred the black and white. So yeah, that's something to note as well. Some panels that are included in this that weren't in this one. Some bits of maybe less than important pieces of the panel taken away. Yeah, so I mean, pick up, if you are curious, pick up whichever you can find. It comes highly recommended. I would, out of the whole stacks, this is the one that surprised me the most. There's ones in the stacks that I've read that I knew I would like. But this one, because I didn't have any kind of previous knowledge of it, and just on a kind of cursory glance through it, I just wasn't sure how much I would like it, has turned out to be a real fucking gem. The first story in this one is pretty great as well, too. Kind of just gives you a little bit of a flavor of the world itself. So they have an underground kind of road system that's these tubes, and this is called the Terror Tube, this story. And he's the chief Terminator right there. And just kind of gives you a little bit of a feel of the flavor of the world and how they get around. And there's a little story where they're trying to capture Nemesis because he's going to appear in these tunnels, and chaos ensues, of course. But I mean, check out that image. That's just fantastic shit. The guy's a great artist. I can't believe he's been off of my radar for so long. It's a real shame. But all is well, because now we found each other. So yeah, I mean, I could keep talking about this for another 20 minutes, but let's stop there and just go with, if you see it, buy it, give it a shot. If you're watching this channel and you like my videos and you read some of the same things I do, just take my word for it. Just pick it up and give it a shot, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. So next up is what turned out to be the one-shot Pathways to Fantasy. I don't know if this was originally intended to be a series, because I think PC folded soon after this came out. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the case. What is this, 1984? I'm not sure, but either way, this turned out to be the only one. So right away, the reason why this wasn't on my radar for so long was just plain and simply the title, Pathways to Fantasy. I'm not a huge fan of fantasy as a genre. I don't go out of my way to avoid it by any stretch, but it's not something that I'm just naturally drawn to. But this was just one of those books, as you saw by those haul videos, that it was just so cheap. It was PC. It seemed stupid to pass it up just because it had the word fantasy on it. And again, this is another one of them that was kind of a nice surprise. And the nicest surprise was this first story, Stalking. Story by Bruce Jones, art by Barry Windsor Smith, lettering by Carrie McCarthy, and coloring by Tom Luth, Luth. Sorry, how about I put that on camera and you can read it as well. Pretty basic story. A guy wandering through the desert, and this wolf or animal following him throughout. The gray border wolf, far from its timberland home, a huge wolf with blazing red eyes and a torn, swollen paw that it favored. That was when the game had begun. So as he's kind of wandering through the desert, this wolf is following him, and he tries to chase it away with no luck. Every time he ends up killing an animal, pardon me, the wolf ends up getting in there first and taking his share and leaving the human scraps. And at nighttime, eventually just kind of getting cozy with the human there for warmth. And of course, sort of inevitable that the human falls into some danger, and the wolf kind of comes to his aid with some great pictures, especially the contrast of all these the previous kind of desert scenes and a little bit of blue there to this sudden color burst of like these purples and greens and yellows and things are pretty fantastic. So the wolf comes to his aid, and together they vanquish the beast, and they take some scraps for the road so they can eat, and they kind of walk off together as newfound friends. Really nice little story. Beautiful, beautiful art. That was the highlight. The rest of the book was okay. I love the art in this one too. This is another that stood out art-wise. Story-wise, not so much. The artist in this one is John Bolton, and story by Christina Rossetti, and lettering again by Carrie McCarthy. The art is beautiful. The story, so-so. I don't know. I didn't walk away with much from it, to be honest. After I started reading it, I kind of scanned fairly quickly through reading the rest of it. But the art kind of got my interest. I mean, that page is just fucking phenomenal. Really, really nice work. Beautiful coloring. And then a Jeffrey Jones story that, again, didn't leave too much to be desired. Kind of a prose piece of sorts with some sort of landscape photos, or landscape paintings, rather. And then finally a story by April Campbell with art by Leila Dowling. Again, lettering Carrie McCarthy and coloring Tom Luth, called Hunger. And yeah, I mean, you can get a look at this too. Some really nice coloring throughout this whole book, actually. I would like to look up this guy's name at some point now that I've kind of focused on the fact that he did the coloring for most of it. Oh, not finally. So a Bruce Jones at the end. So obviously this one really stuck with me, as in I don't even think that I read it. Oh, yes, I did, because it was sort of this Medusa girl walking around through her kind of statues and talking to her family, and how peaceful her world is, or walking through statues and talking about how peaceful her world is when it's finally revealed that, she's this Medusa child and these statues are actually her family. So a nice little twist there, but really, really great issue for the most part, minus a few stories. But that's worth grabbing as well if you see that for cheap. It's worth it, honestly, just for the art, even if, like me, you're not a huge fantasy fan. It's worth it just for the looks of the whole thing. We'll move on to the next one. And finally, for this first part, I'll probably end up breaking this up into a couple of videos here since it's such a huge stack of books. The last one I wanted to look at is this series from First Comics called Warp. And I've read the first 3 issues. I have the first 5, and then number 7 and 8. It's jumped to kind of tops of one of the books I want to look for, keep my eyes out for, and get the whole series. I wasn't totally surprised that I enjoyed this as much as I did. It came recommended from 2 really, really good sources, Damien Sleepy Reader and our bud Johnny Zero. So I'm not shocked that I enjoyed it, because they both pretty much said you will enjoy this. And I'm going to be sad to see Frank Brunner leave this book, because honestly, he's one of the main reasons that I do love it. Although I haven't seen the other artists that replaced him, so who's to know? Maybe it will be equally phenomenal. I believe I posted a picture of this on Twitter as well. So the history of this is that it started as kind of a stage play, I believe in San Francisco, if I'm remembering correctly. Was it 1969, 1970, 1971, right in around there? Or maybe I'm completely off on that. Okay, well, I'm not going to find it as I quickly scan. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it was the late 70s. Regardless, it started off as a stage play. And my assumption, actually, it probably was late 70s. If this was published 83, it might have been 79 or 80. My assumption is that this took quite a few nods from Doctor Strange for the stage play, and the book definitely does. There's lots of, with the names and just kind of by the hoary hosts of Hogarth, that sort of style of talking. Fenra, Lord Cumulus, Valeria, the insect queen, who's a phenomenal character. She's got some great stuff in later issues. It's a really, really, really fun read. There's so much about it that I like. I love this kind of sci-fi aspect of it. I love the kind of, it's a real basic, so far anyway, sort of a good versus evil, with the good guy really doubting himself, and especially in this first issue, just doubting his sanity, period, as he's been drawn into this world, and has to kind of try to find his way around and who he can trust and what exactly the hell is going on, and if he's just hallucinating the whole thing. And just looking through it, you can see the panel layouts are fantastic. And Brunner just does an incredible job in this book. I really, really love his art in this. And Prince Chaos makes an appearance at the end. And another nice surprise was at the end of the issue, they have some short stories. This first one was okay, John Ostrander and somebody, Lennon Del Sol, penciler, Joe Staten as the inker. Janice Cohen as the colorist. It's an okay story. It wasn't horrible. It didn't blow me away, although we do get some images like that which aren't too awful to look at, and images like that which are pretty great. But what kind of took me by surprise was at the back of issues 2, 3, and 4 is a 3-part story written by Jack Harris with art by Steve Ditko, and it's some beautiful Ditko art, really, really nicely colored by Janice Cohen. So there you go. See, I thought maybe Ditko colored it himself, but that is not the case. So yet another colorist's name I'll have to look up, because I really like what she's done. And it's such a nice contrast from the rest of the book, where you're getting these kind of page layouts, as amazing as they are. It's a real great contrast to jump from all that to some almost straight ahead Ditko with small panels, multiples, in this case 12 on a page and 9 on a page and 10 on a page. Nothing really jumping out or splash pages or crazy looking panels. Just some great art, and the sinister look on this fucking guy's face there. Love it. Love it. It's a great story as well. So, as I said already, no surprise that I enjoyed it as much as I did. It's just nice to have a nice... It's nice to have a nice surprise at the end of the book with some Ditko. And then as an added bonus for me, anyway, this here, Best of Books, Best Service, an advertisement, a full-page ad, no less, for a distributor here in Canada that I know because it's Styx Comics, and it used to be in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I remember going to Styx Comics when I was a kid. I had no idea that this was also Styx Comics, a distributor across Canada and around the world, they say. And they give you a little list of some of the titles they carry and what you can get. Charlton Comics, specialty and direct sale publishers, DC, Marvel, digests, etc., etc. Really, really great to see that with the Winnipeg address, a P.O. box in Winnipeg. Incredible. Very cool. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Styx Comics eventually turned into your friend and mine, Comics America, who I am not crazy about, but it's just really cool to see a little bit of your hometown on the back of a book. So that's a really great surprise. And then on the back of issue 3 as well. So there we have it. There's part 1 of the reviews. All of them, as I've said already, I recommend all of them, but this is the one for me that really stood out. As much as I loved Warp and as much as I enjoyed Pathways to Fantasy, this one just is the hit of this video, and that's, as I said, because it just surprised the hell out of me, came out of nowhere and just blew me away. So I am going to be seriously hunting for more Nemesis the Warlock and try to complete that entire series, because that's some great shit. And Kevin O'Neill, I'm also going to throw him to the top of my list as well. Thanks very much for checking me out once again. Hoping everybody had a good New Year's and everybody is well, and we will talk to you soon.